Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we will be explaining what AFL is, and I think that this is a very important video for me to make, as most of my original audience from my starting of YouTube days is not Australian, and if I want to move into the AFL market, I think it's important that my audience know what AFL is. And I have looked on YouTube. I've done a bit of research on this, not because I want to find out what AFL is. I'm very, very certain that I do, but mainly because there hasn't been an Australian that's done a video like this. So this is a bit groundbreaking. Usually it's Americans reacting and they just get it a bit wrong because they don't quite know what they're talking about. So hopefully I'll be able to break the stereotype a little bit, and I will be able to give you more in-depth and more accurate claims than what they did. Not dissing them at all, but I think that being an Australian and growing up and living, breathing and revolving my life around the sport, I should be able to give a pretty good analysis. So without further ado, we are going to get into this. The AFL put up a video about 3 years ago explaining what it was. They had an American do the voiceover, which is a bit weird, but let's get into it. Alright. What is AFL?
It's got running.
Now they're starting to run.
It's got kicking.
It does. It does have running.
It's got phone-on-phone hits without pads.
Big hits as well. So there is a textbook.
No, it's not rugby.
It's just a big hit from Marley Williams.
It's Australian football, although you might hear it called Aussie rules or even footy. This is Australia's biggest sport and is now played professionally by 18 teams in the AFL. It has.
All right, that's where we'll stop. That's where we'll stop it. So there is 18 teams, as it does say there, across every state except for Tasmania, which is down the bottom of Australia. They are campaigning for a Tasmanian team, but they have been for a long time, and whether that happens or not is yet to be seen. So everything they've said at the moment is true, but I will be able to give you more in-depth.
Fourth highest average attendance of any domestic sports league in the world.
Alright, so the third highest attendance average, that is true. NHL. NFL is the top with, I think, 69,000. And then EPL is just below that, and then we are just below, AFL is just below that at 35,000. Now, I don't know whether that's changed from 2015, I'd assume it would, especially with the expansion clubs, Gold Coast and GWS getting a lot bigger. But yeah, third highest attendance, average attendance in the world is a pretty awesome claim to fame.
These are some serious fans. What do you say we talk basics? Aussie rules is played on a football field, probably bigger than any you've ever seen, with an egg.
It is, yes. The AFL ground, it is oval. I think the MCG is about 160 metres, 170 metres long. That's just a guideline. Every ground is different. The professional grounds anyway. So you will see that there are wider grounds, you'll see that there's longer grounds, you'll see that there's shorter grounds, you'll see that there's a whole variety and array of different grounds around the country, not just in the AFL ranks, but even below that there are some very questionable grounds in the local leagues, but apart from that they're all the same shape. Not the same size, but teams do adapt to that when they are playing.
Shaped ball that takes some crazy bounces. Each team consists of 18 players on the field and 4 on the bench.
That is true. 18 on the field and 4 on the bench. That has changed. Not really, it hasn't. We'll get into that in a minute. We'll talk about the offside rule, as they call it.
Tremendous athletes, these players are basketball-sized with the hands and foot speed of an NFL wide receiver and stamina greater than a soccer player.
This is interesting. It's a main event in any stadium in the world.
The game starts with a center bounce, a bit like a basketball jump ball. The basic object of the game, like American football, is to move the ball down the field and score.
Wants to go all the way from 45.
the ball 3 ways. Running, but you have to bounce it every 16 yards.
That is every 15 metres for the Americans and everybody else out there. 15 metres or 16 yards as they call it. That is give or take. It's based off the umpire's eye. So it could be, sometimes you do get a bad call and it's every 14 metres. Sometimes you get it's every 20. It's usually about an average of 15.
Using your fist to hit it forward. This is called a handball, another skill unique to Aussie rules.
Nice running.
That seems pretty self-explanatory.
Cross time started it all and drills it home.
And of course, the most common way is kicking it.
That one's full forward. Terrific.
Like a quarterback using feet instead of hands, these guys can hit a teammate on the run at 50 yards. If the kick is a little high, a player may have to jump and make a spectacular catch. This is called a mark.
Look at that. He took his armchair with him and sat on top Nick Mananui.
Just a quick one, not all marks will look like that. Most of them are a lot more basic than that. But they are just some examples of speckies, or spectacular marks as we call them.
And believe it or not, you can use the opponent as a springboard for jumping. If you take a mark, you can keep going, or you can stop on the spot and take an unimpeded kick.
Glorious kick.
That is a half-true statement. They are basing that off the fact that you are in front of goal. Which would mean that, yes, Andrew Walker, as you could see there, did take a mark with inside the forward 50, which is 50 metres out from goal. He's gone back and had a set shot, which is, as they've said, an unimpeded kick. What they have missed is that everywhere else on the ground, that would not be the case. Obviously, if that was taken on in the middle of the ground, he would have had 5 seconds to move it on, because he's not in a scoring range. You're not going to kick it from 100 metres out. So usually he'd have about 5 seconds to move it on, or play on. That's an umpiring term. But otherwise, he would not have that set shot like he did there. He's also got the option to, as I said, play on from there as well. He doesn't have to go back and have a set shot. And if he does go back and have a set shot, he has 30 seconds to go and kick his goal, or his shot for goal.
Once in scoring position, the idea is to kick the ball through the 2 large upright posts. That's a goal and worth 6 points.
He is left foot. Whoa, that is repertoire.
If you hit the post,
And he's sending
or send it between the big post and the outer lower post, it's worth 1 point and is called a behind.
That is true. Also, if we just go back, if you are to hit, you see the post on the outside with the white padding. If you are to hit that, that means that it has gone out on the full, and so the person in the black and white jumper would get a free kick from the boundary line. And you get those as well.
Or send it between the big post and the outer lower post, it's worth 1 point and is called a behind. A final scoreline might look something like this.
Alright, they don't explain it in the video, but they just show you. So the first column there, where it says 20 for Collingwood and 18 for Carlton, that is your goals. So that is how many goals you kicked. The 10 and the 12 next to that in the middle, that is the amount of behinds you've kicked. And obviously the final score there on the right hand side is the final score that your team's kicked, and obviously Collingwood have won. That's very self-explanatory. When you get to know it, you should pick up on that pretty quickly.
By the way, there's no offside rule. Don't get us wrong.
That's where you're wrong, sort of. This is a very difficult rule to explain, and I did say I was going to go in depth. So there is no official offside rule when this was made, and there's still not. But now they have introduced a 666 rule where everybody must start there must be 6 players in your defence, attack or forward line and midfield. You used to be able to start people anywhere, but now they've just brought in a starting offside rule, I think, sort of, if that's a way to explain it. Other than that, there is no offside rule.
There are positions. Defenders defend. Forwards go forward. And midfielders, play in midfield.
This is better from Hawthorn. We know what a good kick he is, but he sets Hill up the line outside. He goes back into Hale, 70 metres out, too far to score. Gives off here to Suckling. Suckling with a low belter.
Players come in all shapes and sizes. The Fremantle Dockers have 5'8" Hayden Ballantyne, 6'3" Nate Fife, and 7-footer Aaron Sandilands.
That is true.
You can tackle hard, but not too high or low. It has to be between the shoulders and the knees.
That is a very, very basic interpretation of a tackle. They are a lot more in-depth. It's very difficult to explain to an outsider without actually showing them. So obviously if it's between the shoulder and the knee, it's a fair tackle. If it's below the knees, it's a trip, so it'll be a free kick to the other team. And if it's above the shoulder, it's too high, and it's a free kick to the team that's getting tackled. If you fall into their back, it's a free kick to the person getting tackled. You can't fall into their back. That's called pushing the back. Pretty self-explanatory. But that's a very difficult rule to understand. And for me, just to try and tell you that without showing you it is quite difficult.
There are 4 quarters of 20 minutes, but like soccer, time is added on for stoppages of play. The extra time can be as much as 10 additional minutes.
That is mostly true. They are 20-minute standard quarters. The time on, it's not up to 10 minutes. It could be longer than 10 minutes. Most quarters go between 26 and 32 minutes. That's just an average of this year. There are some quarters that go for 35, 36, but you're not going to get that many. And you're also not going to get many quarters that go for 20, 21 minutes. They're going to be between 25 and 32, as I said.
AFL teams play 22 regular season games. The top 8 teams make the playoffs, or as they're called in Australia, the finals. Eventually, 2 teams meet in the championship game or the grand final. It's Australia's Super Bowl and is played every year in the magnificent Melbourne Cricket Ground in front of 90,000 plus. It's a big deal.
Away we go. Opening balls. Kennedy. Long kick. Goal. First of the grand final.
Alright.
Good looking.
And there is a little bit of footage about the grand final for you. So, I hope that everybody got a little bit out of that. If you didn't, I'm sorry. If you did, that's awesome. I hope that it meant a little bit to you. Hopefully you gained an understanding of what's to come on the channel and what AFL is as well. So I hope that everybody has a good day. If you are new, please like and subscribe. There'll be a new video on Thursday regarding more AFL. Who would have guessed it? But other than that, have a great day, as I said, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.